Hello, and welcome to the PRSS 118 Introduction to Provider and MCO Delegate Management Training session. During this session, we'll show you how to set up delegate role assignments in the Provider or MCO portal. The process in each portal is similar. The main differences between the two systems are the portal used and the role assignment processes. If you have not attended the PRSS 111 Introduction to Provider Enrollment, or PRSS 120 Introduction to Provider Portal, users may want to attend those sessions first for foundational information. A helpful resource for this session is the Provider Portal User Guide, which is located on the Provider Training page. Our agenda for this session is adding delegates and managing the delegate role assignments, and then we'll do a brief closing. The learning objectives are to explain the purpose of setting up the delegate role assignments and identifying where to manage delegate information. First, we will cover adding a delegate. We will add an unregistered delegate. An unregistered delegate is a delegate that is not known to the system, not working for a provider at any location. Then we will add a registered delegate. A registered delegate is a delegate who is known to the system and may be working at another location or for another provider. There are various roles that can be assigned to staff within the portal, so we're going to take a look at these now. If you are the provider, you have a few options depending on the level of control you want over the information and tasks performed on your behalf. If you are an individual provider, you can directly assign and manage delegates or staff to perform tasks such as submitting claims on your behalf. If you don't want to manage these delegates or the designated staff yourself, you can assign a delegate administrator to manage them on your behalf. These administrators can also perform the tasks that delegates do. If you are an individual provider within a group provider, which is this last section of the diagram, you have the option to assign an authorized administrator who maintains all your provider account information and tasks during enrollment. This provider type has the choice to opt out of portal access and relies solely on that administrator for all updates and processing of tasks. For individual within a group provider who want to opt out of PRSS access, see our PRSS 111 Introduction to Provider Enrollment course for more details. Keep these roles in mind, because the authorized administrator and delegates who work on behalf of more than one provider will see something slightly different when they log into the portal. Now, let's see what the provider portal looks like. Users always start at the Secure MES login page. Here they begin by entering in their credentials, including username, password, and then clicking Sign In. On the MES landing page, you're going to look towards the bottom of the page where you will see the Provider Management tile. Located in the top right of this tile, notice the little blue arrow. Click on that blue arrow, and it opens the Provider Management tile. You will see the PRSS link. Click that, and it directs the user to the home page. Before going into the training environment to show you the steps, we want to introduce some definitions and concepts used in the system to manage staff access. The Adding Delegates feature allows users the ability to give portal access to their clerical and administrative staff in support of daily operations. Giving delegate administrator rights allows the enrollment of staff. Security functions control what administrative functions a staff member can perform. The system divides the process of adding security functions and delegating administrative rights by service location into 3 entry options shown here. The first option is that you can assign a delegate for all locations with all security functions. You can also assign the delegate administration rights here. The second option allows you to assign a delegate with specific security functions to all locations. The third option allows you to assign the delegate, remember this can also be called your staff, to select service locations with specific security functions, with or without delegate administrative rights by each specific service location. Now we're going to go into the environment to see how this is done in the system. After your initial Virginia Medicaid enrollment is approved, your profile information is managed through the provider portal. For designated staff to access the provider portal, they need to be added as an unregistered delegate. The following demo shows you the steps. Remember, if you are an individual within a group and you affiliated with your group during the enrollment application and named the group as the authorized administrator, you may not have access to this portal. If this is the case, your group manages your profile and delegates, and for changes, you must contact your group. When you log into your account as an authorized administrator for individual within a group or OPR, you'd again at the Switch Provider page. Note that this page asks, do you want to manage the affiliations associated with your group or facility? If you wish to manage your group or facility information, you're going to select No. You will select Yes if you wish to manage the individual within a group or OPR information for the group or facility. We want to add delegates to Blue Ridge Health Center Incorporated. You'll note in the information bar in the upper left-hand corner that we are logged in as Blue Ridge Health Center Incorporated. So we're going to leave the defaulted selection at No. To manage our delegates for Blue Ridge Health Center, we're going to come up to the menu button in the upper right-hand corner and click the menu button. From the navigation menu, we're going to click on Maintenance. From the Maintenance menu, we'll use the drop-down to find Manage Delegates. We select Manage Delegates. We are on the Delegates information page. Notice there are two buttons on this page. We have the Add Unregistered Delegate, and we have the Add Registered Delegate buttons. Remember, an unregistered delegate is a delegate that is not known to the system. So we're going to begin here for our delegate or our staff member. Select the Add Unregistered Delegate button. This delegate is unknown to the system and is not working for another provider or service location. We will complete the unregistered delegate profile information. We're going to add Alec Jones, an unregistered delegate. Note that any fields marked with an asterisk are required and must be completed. We will add the email address, birth date, the last four of the social, and the phone number for the delegate. We select a primary language from the drop-down menu. Note that there is also an active checkbox here. The active checkbox at the top of the window is what indicates whether the delegate can work on the provider's behalf. If this checkbox is not selected, the delegate cannot, or the delegate or staff member cannot work for the provider at any location. We always want to make sure that we have the active checkbox selected here. Please ensure that when creating an unregistered delegate, you assign all the locations where you intend for this delegate or staff member to work for our provider. This makes sure that the delegate, administrator, or staff member won't have to go back and add service locations later. When reviewing the add options, we can see that it contains the information we previously examined. We have the ability to assign all service locations in security functions. Another option is to assign specific security functions, which then display available and selected function boxes. Alternatively, we can proceed to the final selection, where we choose the service locations and security functions for our delegates to manage on behalf of our provider. This will bring up a list of service locations, as well as our available functions and selected function box. Let's select the Assign All Service Locations and Security functions. By using this selection, it is assigning our delegate or staff member to all of our provider service locations with all security functions. If the Delegate Administrator checkbox is selected, this also assigns our delegate or staff member to all service locations with all security functions, plus the ability to add and maintain other delegates. Let's look at our next selection. If we select Assign All Service Locations and assign selected security functions, this means our delegate or staff member is going to be assigned to all of our provider service locations. We now have the Available Functions box down here and the Selected Functions box. When you first come to this, your selected function box will be empty. When you're adding a new delegate or staff member, you would select functions by clicking on a function in the Available Functions box. Users can also select the Control key on their keyboard and select another function. These selected functions are the delegate's security or work functions. Next, select the arrow in the middle to move those available functions over to selected functions. We have selected these two functions for a delegate or staff member to work on behalf of our provider. Alternatively, users can utilize the right-facing double arrows to move everything over at once from available to selected. Conversely, utilizing the left-facing double arrows moves all of the selected functions back over under available functions. Also, notice whenever you hover over a function, it provides a brief description of that function. Next, let's select specific service locations and then specific security functions for the delegate or staff member to work on behalf of our provider. At this point, we can now make our delegate active at a specific location. Once making them active, users can go down and select their security or work functions by clicking on those and using the arrow to move them from available to selected functions. Notice that this also adds it to the security function at the top. When making the delegate staff member active at a service location, we also have to assign security functions at that service location. When we make a delegate staff member active at a service location, we also have to assign security functions at that service location. We can also make a delegate active at another service location, and we can set them as a delegate administrator by clicking this checkbox. This makes them a delegated administrator at just that one specific service location. You notice that we have assigned Alec to Blue Ridge Medical Center Pharmacy and Blue Ridge Dental. At the Blue Ridge Dental, we have made him active, and we have assigned him the Message Center with View and Send Message capabilities. However, at the Blue Ridge Medical Center Pharmacy location, we have made Alec active and assigned him as a delegated administrator, which assigns him all security functions at that service location. If we make Alec active at a location and do not assign security functions, when we go down to the bottom of the screen and click Submit, it's going to throw up an error message. This is because we have not assigned any security functions at that location. Alec is now assigned to two different locations. He is a delegated administrator at the other location. We've made him active with specific security functions, so we'll scroll down and click Submit here. An unregistered delegate has been added. You're going to notice now a message bar tells us the Add Unregistered Delegate was successfully saved. The unregistered delegate receives an email to complete portal registration. The delegate cannot access the provider's information until their registration is completed. Once the registration is complete, the delegate becomes a registered delegate and can then access the account from the Switch organization page when they log in. Now that we've added an unregistered delegate, let's go over and look at adding a registered delegate. Remember, a registered delegate is a delegate that's already currently active, working in the system for another provider or at another service location. Start by selecting the Add Registered Delegate button. We need the relationship code from the delegate along with the last name associated with the code. The relationship code is found on the delegate's page under Maintenance and then to Portal Profile Maintenance. We'll review these steps later. We're going to add an MCO delegate. We'll add the last name in the last name box and the relationship code in the relationship code box. At the bottom right, we click Continue. Once the system validates the last name and relationship code, the Add Registered Delegate window populates with the validated delegate's information. Notice the MCO's first name, last name, email information, relationship code, and again this active checkbox. We want to make sure that the delegate is active to work on behalf of our provider. Now we have our three add options. We can assign all service locations with all security functions and assign the MCO as a delegate administrator, which allows them to add and manage delegates or staff members on behalf of our provider. In this scenario, we are selecting Add MCO to all service locations, but we want to select the security or work functions for MCO. Now we go to the last option, where we select the service locations to assign MCO to work on behalf of our providers. Making the MCO active at specific locations, and then the option to set them as a delegated administrator at a specific location. We can also add them to another location. We then assign different work functions by selecting those work functions from the available functions list, using the arrow button to move them over to the selected functions list. This adds the function to that service location box. For this demonstration, we added 2 security functions for this MCO to work on behalf of our provider. Once the user clicks Submit, they receive the Add Registered Delegate with successfully saved message at the top of the page. And that registered delegate is now able to log in and work on behalf of the provider at the provider locations that were assigned to them. Now, let's look at a few examples of how delegate assignments look. Remember that graphic from earlier in the lesson? Reviewing the details about these different delegate configurations is confusing at first, and a quick review of the complete picture will improve your understanding. Matching your organization's staff structure needs with the best PRSS delegate settings is the goal here. Select the first set of delegate assignment choices, which is assigning all service locations and security functions. If you want this staff member or delegate to perform all staff functions for all service locations for this provider, remember to add them as a delegate administrator if you want this staff member or delegate to oversee other delegates assigned to your provider. Again, the idea is to match the delegate setting to how you want to deploy your staff to cover the provider enrollment and credentialing tasks. This graph highlights 2 things to consider. Do you want a single staff member or delegate providing all available security functions, and/or a delegated administrator who can assign and manage staff members or delegates for this provider? A delegated administrator can also then provide all security functions. This staff member could create and add delegates to help with maintaining tasks broken out as security functions that you determine. The next option is to assign all service locations and assign selected security functions. You will do this if you want the staff member or delegate to act across all of the provider service locations, but you want to select the security functions for them to work on behalf of your provider. This option allows the security functions or tasks to be limited to match staff, specialty, or organizational structure. It allows a larger office to split duties between multiple staff, such as front office and billing and administration. Selecting the third set of delegate assignment choices allows the user to assign service locations and assign security functions. If this staff member or delegate is to act across select provider service locations with selected security functions, selecting the DA or delegate administrator checkbox will designate this staff member or delegate to manage all delegates for this provider's selected service location. This option allows the security functions or tasks to be limited to match staff, specialty, or organizational structure across selected service locations. This choice gives staff managers the most varied choices to cover a variety of staffing needs. Again, the idea is to match the delegate settings to how you want to deploy your staff to cover the provider enrollment and credentialing tasks. This graph shows all the different variations. Using these settings, do you need multiple staff or delegate specialties to divide credentialing tasks to match staff specializations or functional groupings? The third choice allows multiple delegates to manage specific groups of security functions across selected locations, giving managers the most flexible design on delegate functions across select locations. As a delegated administrator, this staff member could create and add delegates to help with maintaining tasks broken out as desired. This graphic depicts the possible splits of security functions across 3 staff members. Be sure to keep this variable in mind. It allows the delegate administrator security functions so they can act during staff shortages or turnover. If you have your delegate administrator for a specific location, and you have one of your delegates who is out or needs some help, This delegate administrator can also work on behalf of the delegate who's not able to complete those functions. An authorized administrator is a group provider type that manages the service locations associated with the individual within a group. After the individual within a group's enrollment is approved, the authorized administrator may assign staff members or delegates to manage service locations assigned to the authorized administrator, but does not directly assign delegates to the individual within a group's account. The authorized administrator cannot change the authorized administrator when assigning the authorized administrator during enrollment, which is accomplished in the PE Wizard. Refer to the PE Wizard User Guide section 11.1. This image depicts the screen where the authorized administrator is entered during enrollment. When assigning the authorized administrator in the provider portal after enrollment, refer to the Provider Portal User Guide, section 14.8, and section 14.84 for steps to add an authorized administrator if not added during enrollment. This image depicts where to add an authorized administrator. The user navigates under the Affiliations tab to add the authorized administrator. This is accomplished through the Provider Portal. In this next section, we're going to talk about managing delegate role assignments in the Provider Portal. Remember those delegates who are already working on your behalf in the Provider Portal? The Manage Delegate feature enables you to establish and maintain delegates who can perform select functions in the portal on your behalf. You can manage those functions that they've been assigned. We're going to go back into the Provider Portal to see how these delegates are managed. We are logged back in as Blue Ridge Health Center Incorporated. We're going to go back to the upper right-hand corner for our menu button. We are going to click on the arrow to the left of Maintenance. We're going to just go down to Manage Delegates. This brings up the Delegates Information page. Notice there is a table with a list of delegates that are already working on behalf of our provider at all the service locations. In the middle of the page, notice the drop-down menu for service locations. When the user clicks on another location, it's going to change the list of delegates displayed in the table. There are a couple of different options. Users can move to different pages. They can also export the list to Excel or create a PDF. Let's select the Blue Ridge Medical Center service location. From this list of delegates, we are going to select Tess Baldwin. We are going to change the security roles that he's working on behalf of our provider at this specific location. When the user double-clicks on the selected delegate, the assigned delegate window opens. We see that Tess Baldwin is actively working on behalf of the provider in several different locations. When scrolling down, we can see that he is also a delegate administrator at multiple locations, and he's active at all locations. Tess Baldwin is not a delegate administrator at the first location, which means we now have to go down and assign the available functions that we want him to work at that location. We highlight the available function or functions and then use the arrow in the middle to move over to selected functions. Notice that Tess is still working on behalf of our provider at all the locations, but at the location at the top, he is limited to the security or work functions that are assigned to him. We're going to click Save. The ribbon at the top of the page appears again that says the assigned delegate was successfully saved. In this delegate information table, Tess Baldwin still shows an active status working on behalf of the provider. He is a delegated administrator, but he's not a delegated administrator at the first service location. Next, we are going to look at another delegate, MCO delegate. Once we select MCO delegate and double-click on the record, we are brought to the Assign Delegate window. Since you cannot delete staff members or delegates from the system, we are going to inactivate this delegate. We can make MCO inactive at a specific service location. which means they would be active to work on behalf of our provider at other locations. They just wouldn't be active at this specific location. We can also make them inactive at the top of the box, which means if MCO were to leave or take a leave of absence from our provider, we would just deselect the active checkbox at the top to turn the profile off. Scroll down and click Save. You'll notice that MCO Delegate is no longer active to work on behalf of our provider. No matter which location is selected, you won't find MCO active. Let's say MCO Delegate is coming back from the leave of absence. We can come up to this row where it says Delegate Status. So we're only seeing the active status if we click on the filter button to the right. Notice users can now include inactive delegates. Click the filter icon and check the Include Inactive box to include inactive delegates in our window. Let's find the MCO delegate here. MCO is now displayed in our table. They have an inactive status for our delegate and for this service location. So we're going to select MCO's record again and double-click. At the top of the Assign Delegate screen, we see that MCO does not have active checked. Click the Active checkbox to make MCO an active delegate. Notice that MCO Delegate is not showing active for several locations, including Blue Ridge Medical Center Pharmacy, GR Blue Ridge Medical Center, and Blue Ridge Dental. Checking the active box on each of the individual locations would make them active at those service locations. They are actively working on behalf of our provider, but are inactive at these specific service locations. Once all changes are made to the delegate, click the Save button. Notice now that MCO Delegate shows an active delegate status on the screen. A confirmation of the change made to the delegate is displayed at the top of the delegates window. When done managing delegates, or even just stepping away from the computer, users want to be sure to securely log out of the system here for security purposes. Now that we've shown you how to manage your delegates who are working on behalf of your provider, let's take a quick detour to discuss where to find the relationship code for a registered delegate. When logged in as a delegate, you notice that they start on the Switch Provider page. If we go to the menu at the right, we can select Provider Portal. Note that if we log into the portal without selecting a provider location, there is an error message stating that we have either not selected a provider or we do not have any providers to represent. We need to return to the Switch Provider page and select a provider to log in as. To do so, click the menu button at the top right of the screen. Then select Maintenance from the menu options. Next, select Switch Provider to return to the Switch Provider screen. On the Switch Provider screen, select the needed provider to work on behalf of. We will use the Blue Ridge Health Center Incorporated. We then need to click Submit. The Switch Provider Details window appears. This allows the option to select the specific service location that we wish to work for under this provider. After making the selection, we need to click the Submit button again. In the upper left corner of the Provider Portal home screen, it now shows that we are logged in and working as a delegate on behalf of Blue Ridge Health Center, Inc. To determine our relationship code as a registered delegate, we would click the menu button in the upper right-hand corner. From here, the delegate clicks Maintenance. Under the Maintenance menu, click on the Portal Profile Maintenance selection. The My Account Profile window opens, and the registered delegate's profile information is displayed. It also shows their relationship code. The relationship code is only visible on the delegates page, so they are the only ones who can see this information while logged in. We have now completed our review of provider and MCO delegate management. It's time to see what you recall. We have just a few questions to quiz you on the material that we just covered. Question 1. Providers, MCOs, and ASOs can give portal access to their clerical or administrative staff. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. Question 2. A delegated administrator has access to all security functions, including the ability to add and maintain delegates. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. Question 3. When an unregistered delegate is added, the delegate has immediate access to the Authorized portal functionality. Is this true or false? The correct answer is false. Remember that the delegate must follow instructions that are sent to their email to complete registration. And now our last question, question 4. What information must a registered delegate supply be added as a delegate to another account? Select all answers that apply. Remember, whenever we added the registered delegate, a small thin bar came up in the middle of the page. We had to add 2 things, which were the last name and the relationship code. For our course summary, we explained the purpose of setting up delegate role assignments, and we identified where and managed delegate information. Congratulations! You have completed the PRSS 118 Introduction to Provider and MCO Delegate Management. Thank you for your attention and thank you for attending.